So today we're gonna do a top 10 decks post Bronze of Legends in December 2021 that are budget. Now keep in mind this was at the time of recording the video, they aren't necessarily in order of budget or in competitiveness. I just think these are the 10 best picks in order. If you were to walk up to me and ask, hey, what's a nice budget deck at the moment, I would give you these answers. Buyouts happen all the time. Once a deck jumps in hype, it might increase in price, so this might not be relevant by the time this gets uploaded, but hey, we'll see. Starting off, at number 10, we just have from it Tolkien. It's a build I uploaded before on my channel. The reason this deck is very cheap, the most expensive card was, what's it called again? Silent Mining. Also, Tolkien was kind of getting expensive. Both are getting a reprint in Eldorado. So that deck is no longer expensive. It's a very cheap deck and it can put up devastating boards. Hence, it's not the most competitive decks, but if you get the right matchups and you go to locals, this deck can definitely perform. My number 9 is 6 Samurai. I think with 6 Samurais that can theoretically create any board, so really the extra deck's price is whatever you want it to be. You can easily just FTK, just Soyuja loop into Amazon's Archer, tribute monsters, burn for game. Or you can go for a heavy negate board, it's really a customizable tool set if anything. That's also the great thing about 6 Samurai, just don't expect them to ever really get any additional hits. So they'll be viable for a very long time at like locals level. Playing this above locals level would be foolish, FTKs just aren't that great anymore. But you know, it's definitely an option if you want a cheap deck. Now my number 8 deck is Altergeist. Altergeist is getting quite some reprints, so from what I've gathered, it's a pretty cheap deck now. It also got some imports, so I believe those kind of help, although from what I saw the Altergeist imports weren't that great, but I might be wrong there, I'm not an Altergeist veteran. If you want to play a control deck and you're looking for a cheaper option, Altergeist is definitely a great choice. So yeah, Altergeist is an option. The number 7 is Earth Machine. This got a few reprints in Eldorado, this always was already a cheap deck, and it performs pretty well. Definitely at locals you're gonna stomp if you don't have that many great opponents, and even at the above level you might be able to compete. It's a very underrated deck as well. When you ask people what are the best decks with this format, almost nobody answers Earth Machine. And due to its sleeper status, it's a very cheap option. So my number 6, not that competitive, it's Red Dragon Archfiend. Now, what it makes up for competitiveness, it makes up in budgetness. If you're willing to make a budget variant, this can be very good. Now, I believe the OCG, America has that one very expensive Whirlwind, I believe it's called, the level 4 Fiend self-special summoning one. I've forgotten the damn names, it's been a while since I've played this deck, but even that can be replaced due to the head trigger engine and yeah, just general performance engine. Look at my channel, I believe I do got a Don't Break the Bank on them with a very budget friendly build. You can always just try to make it even more cheap. It's a nice deck to upgrade as well. If you gradually get more money, you can start upgrading cards like Chaos Ruler in there, but even with a cheap and low budget, you can make a pretty decent Dragon Archfiend build. And it might even do well at locals. So my number 5 deck is Fluffals. Very great deck if you're planning on going second. They can just rip and tear through any board ever. Like their ability to OTK is pretty disgusting. People don't see this deck as a magic contender, and I think that's a huge mistake. This deck can hit very hard. And it's definitely a deck that isn't expensive either. From what I've gathered, they don't really have any expensive cards. Since you know it's not that competitive. The number 4 deck is Eldritch. It's only really as expensive as the floodgates and stuff you run, the hand traps you want to run. But the base Eldritch engine is very cheap right now. Almost everything is the reprinted Eldorado, and I don't think they already were cheap anyway. Or I mean, I don't think they were that expensive anyway. I've looked at the prices, there doesn't seem to be a single expensive card. The gold lords are like 5 a piece. I guess Pot of Extravagance, if you're gonna run that, is a bit more on the expensive side. But really that's it. I think Eldritch in general are very cheap, and they're definitely a strong deck. We've seen them top already, and that's something that won't change. Since people are too ignorant to main deck removal for your back row. Which means you basically already win game 1 playing this deck, so you only have to win one of the 2 other games. My number 3 deck is Cosmo. Cosmo? Yes, Cosmo. Now the big thing with this deck is that Piri mob is coming in Bronze of Legends, which is another search for a Cosmo Tin Can, making this deck very consistent. You don't really need an extra deck, you mostly just run Cyberdragon, Nova, Infinity, and Pot of Extravagance targets. I suppose you do want a Pot of Extravagance, which costs a bit of money. Or you can go for like Allure and something like Pot of Desires could theoretically work in a more aggressive OTK build. With double E tele and reasoning at 1, they're definitely a strong deck. And keep in mind, E-tailing might go to 3, Reaching might go to 2 or 3, which will all help the deck. So there's a lot of potential going forward, and I think it's a very great option if you're looking for a non-expensive deck. And they're a lot of fun. And they're pretty strong. So my number 2 deck is Utopia. Very, very underestimated deck. When this originally leaked, I thought it would be a top tier contender, or when we originally got the structure deck and stuff in OCG. It ended up not being that great, but it's still a very strong deck. It can definitely win your locals. If piloted and built well, I could see it like get a spot at the top 64 at like a regional or YCS or something. Very, very strong deck. Once again, not expensive. Most people have been buying out Utopia cards. It's just one of these things a lot of people have even forgotten about, you know? When you're taking off Chase Archetypes and Brothers of Legend, not a lot of people will be thinking about Utopia. And my number 1 deck is Cyberdragon or Cyberdark, doesn't really matter which of these two you pick or some kind of weird mix. But this deck is virtually free. Like, if you're getting the Cyberdragon structure deck, you don't get it for Cyberdragon, you get it for the Impermanence. And when you look at the single prices, Impermanence is about as expensive as the structure deck. So basically the entire core is literally free. You might even get a few easy trades for it if you know somebody that already got the Imperms and you don't want the Imperms. But yeah, it's just number 1 out of how cheap it really is. I mean, this deck is virtually free, like you're getting so good value from the Imperms, which you always want to have, that the rest of the structure deck, it barely even matters, honestly. So yeah, this was my top 10 budget decks in December 2021. Any decks I missed, tell us in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys next time. Shinigawa signing out. Have a beautiful day.